I'm gonna go down here and look and see what I can find. I set up this portable stand this third time. I set it up in 25 minutes. That's about the same amount of time it took to get down. So, getting a lot better at it. Okay, here we go. Here's an arrow. Can't believe I missed her. I shot underneath her. Damn it. The only thing I can explain is that the bow did hit the tree. The lower limb did. As a result, I just missed on the shot underneath her. A good penetration into the dirt. Yeah, that's too bad. I was right against the tree. She was coming around the side, and yeah, complete miss. I assume right through. I'm pretty sure I shot right underneath her. That's too bad. Guess I should have waited for her to see what she would do if she'd walk out in this opening here. First day out, got a 12-yard shot at an adult doe. That's awesome. We will get better back. Today I'm heading out to hunt a overgrown weed field that is choke full of briars, thickets, and even some cattails. And on this private property, it's the most overlooked spot, mostly because nobody wants to go into that mess. Well, I'm going into that mess, and it turns out it seems to be the only area where other hunters won't go. And this particular piece of private land is very heavily hunted, much heavily more hunted than the public land where I usually go. So the idea is to hunt the area where the deer feel secure, and the deer are going to be where the other hunters aren't. And it's basically a overgrown drainage weed field with most of the vegetation shoulder height. So I'll be sitting up in a little 6-foot step ladder, and I've already put it in place. And the idea is to catch these deer moving through this thick drainage, overgrown wheat field, and come out towards these farmers' fields, these agricultural fields for feeding in the evening. This is the 4th day in a row where it's been 80 degrees. So any deer movement at all during daylight would be a true blessing. Really would like to get one either this evening or tomorrow morning. I'm going to hunt the same spot both times because it's the only spot that I know of that hasn't seen pressure on this particular piece of private land up here in Bradford County, Pennsylvania. I was walking into these woods here to check an area that was active in the late season last year, but the best hunting is right here at the edge of the woods, where behind me there's these briar bushes, really thick cover and tall grasses. So I was heading into the woods, and I almost stepped on 2 doe, and they both jumped up and ran, stopped at 15 yards and looked back, and I was grabbing an arrow out of my trusted recurve here. I always hunt with arrows in the quiver. I don't walk around with broadheads. However, if I had been, I would have had a 15-yard shot at one of these doe that turned back to look at me. But that's the first deer I didn't get to shoot because I had arrows in the quiver. So I don't recommend walking around with broadheads, especially if you're with other hunters. I don't think it's worth the risk. Well, it's October 25th. I'm heading out despite the 75-degree temperatures over the next 3 days. And this evening my strategy is to hunt a drainage ditch where the deer come in hopefully to get water, and there also traditionally have been white oaks acorns in the area, so a super thick cover right above me, so I'm hoping they're going to come down at last light to get water. The next day I'll also be hunting water in a ditch crossing from a tree stand. Today I'll be hunting from the ground because I just don't have enough time to set up a tree stand after work. And Friday I'll decide, I have a place on Friday where that I scouted it last Saturday and found a place where the deer like to be, and it's kind of an area where they've been pushed from a lot of hunting pressure in some of these great parcels of Pennsylvania public land. Set up in a drainage that a huge 140-inch 8-point buck has been roaming for many years. And last time I was in here I set up incorrectly on the ground, and a deer came in downwind and got my scent. I just wasn't set up right. But now I'm set up right. I'm set up in a drainage funnel, and there's a funnel right in front of me where the deer have to walk around these fallen trees. So there's a really good chance that a mature buck or a mature doe might come through here before dark. When I came in here to set up, I kicked up a big solitary deer, about 20-25 yards, right exactly where my trail camera is, and where I expect to see these deer coming through. So there's activity here. I'm gonna hunt this more than once for sure. This will be a good spot, so. I'm out scouting here in the last weekend in October, and this scouting that I do today will literally determine whether I kill a deer or not in archery season. Hopefully more than one, because the deer are constantly changing their patterns. The leaves have fallen tremendously over the last few days, and now we have a cold front coming through with some rain, so the deer are going to be on their feet. So my goal is to find out where they're active right now, because my theory is that during the rut, the bucks are simply going to go to one active area to the next, like a chain link. So during the peak of the rut, a lot of people hunt those pathways, those funnels between active areas. I specifically want to know where these active areas are because I've got 4 doe tags to fill for this area, and of course my Pennsylvania buck tag, and it's going to be a 3.5-year-old or better buck this year. But as you can see, this is a really nice buck rub here. It's just a really solid tree here, about 5 inches in diameter, rubbed very, very recently. And so I've kicked out 2 deer the last 2 hunts in here. They both outfoxed me. It was a solitary lone deer. I highly suspect it was this buck. The only problem is I do have to work around another hunter, and he has his stand right here, which I'll show you. So this is the rub that I was talking about. That was made within the last day or two. And we've got this ladder stand here. This has been here since I found this area last year. So this hunter obviously is in a good area. He knows exactly where to set up. The only thing I can do is try to work around him and find a similar area, which is actually my goal today. Earlier this spring, I set a trail camera to watch this water crossing here. And there is a pretty good solid heavy trail right here. And I got several smaller yearling bucks and some does crossing through here, acting very wary. They seem to be wary around water. That's just their natural way. It's amazing that coming in here, I haven't seen much deer sign. Occasional rub here and there, but this place gets hunted more heavily than I previously thought. So I'm going to be scouting one more spot, which is actually begins right behind me at this super thick area, and bedding area is a good 200 yards away, and this is their security area, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to hunt this secure area by hunting on the ground if I have to hunt after work, or from a tree if I have the whole day off. But I figure it's going to take about 30 minutes just to get where I want to hunt from where I park. It's probably about a quarter of a mile, but it's through real thick stuff. But the deer, I'm sure, have been pushed back in here. So I'm going to spot check the trail and look for a place to sit or stand behind a tree if I have to hunt on the ground, and see if there's any fresh rubs or scrapes. There should be, because not too many people are going to tangle with this thicker stuff here. I scouted the place closer to the bedding area, and it looks good. There's some older scrapes that were made a few days ago. And then on the way out, I found this fresh scrape, which was made within the last 24 hours. Nice torn up tree here. So after they cross that little stream where my trail camera is, they come up here and they feed in the acorns there. However, I'm gonna try to ambush them back in the closer to the security cover. But this is good. I have a second spot up here. I'm gonna look, mark it, possibly change stands in the future. Again, I'm limited in my tree stand hunting because I only have about an hour after work every day. But once I get my 1 week off in November, definitely be hunting these two areas for sure. So wish me luck. I'm going in to check my last camera of it today in a natural meadow, and there is a deer standing right in front of it. Just saw this tail. I'm gonna walk. I'm just gonna sit here a while, see if I can't see it. I was headed to check one trail camera that I set in a natural meadow farther back into this public land hunting area in the great state of Pennsylvania. I backed my truck in here where there's only enough space for about one vehicle. It'll be tight if there are two. And I have seen other vehicles park here, and it does get hunted, but when I was backing in, wouldn't you know it, a buck walked right across, right behind my truck, about 15 yards. He had a rack on him. I couldn't tell how big it was, but that's what I'm looking for. So immediately I looked where he crossed, and I'm coming back up here. I'm only now about 50 yards from the parking area, and I found my first scrape here. So here's the overhanging branches right here actually. So what I found is a nice little shelf here. There's like about a 10-foot embankment on this side, and then it drops off about 7 feet on this side, and it's literally a shelf. That very well could be an old road that they used for logging a long time ago, because this is really grown over. So bucks especially love terrain features like this, because they can move through here and they can look down to see if there's any predators down below them, and they can catch the thermals. I feel the thermals coming off the mountain here. They're hitting the back of my neck. So by walking right down this shelf, they can catch the thermals here and look, visually check down there, and they feel safe. And did I mention I'm very close to the parking area? So I'm planning on walking up here and finding a place to hunt, because it's close to the parking area. Should be good, and it'll give me time to hunt it after work when my time is very limited.